Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Anxiety Chicks podcast. I'm Allison Sepanera,
And I'm Taylor.
and we're so excited to be here with everybody again. And I say again because we have almost 200 episodes available on an audio version, but we are coming now, not live, but I wish we could go live. We're coming now on video version. I use my hands a lot. So honestly, you guys might see me doing this a lot. I'm Italian. What do you want me to do? But I'm so excited to be here. Hi, Taylor.
So excited to finally show our faces. We've been in hiding.
We have. People are probably just like, who are these people? We also got new cover art, which I'm so excited about. And I think it actually is our real picture. It is our real pictures. Before we had sort of like cartoon looking pictures of us, which I loved. And the artist that did that was great. But, I thought to myself, okay, I think it's time. I think it's time that we actually have our beautiful faces on the cover. So I'm so excited for that. Go to the Anxiety Chicks on Instagram and check out our new cover art, or you might be able to see it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to this. But I'm pumped, and we have so many awesome, awesome things in the works for season 4. I can't believe it's season 4. We almost have 200 episodes, so many amazing healing guests we've had on. We've had some recurring guests. We're going to talk about our favorite episodes that we've had up until now and why we love them. We've talked so much about our own life. You guys have been through 2 breakups with me at this point and a death of my dad. So all of you have experienced all that with me, that great, wonderful life stuff that happens. Sarcasm. But yeah, we just want to kind of like debrief a little bit and introduce ourselves and actually say hello to people that maybe haven't heard of us before or are just seeing us and our faces, but have heard our voices a lot. And so I'm excited. What are you feeling, Taylor?
Me too. I feel like it's a time to reintroduce ourselves for anyone who maybe just jumped in our podcasts randomly by searching a topic in the podcast on Apple or Spotify and randomly found us, because I know if you type in anxiety, we come up pretty high on there. And I think it's just a time for us to reintroduce ourselves and reintroduce the podcast and kind of explain how we got here and what we plan to give everybody. And I think we have a lot of exciting things coming with a lot of these changes. And I think the
Yeah.
cover art looks amazing.
I know, me too. My graphic designer, I just want to shout her out, Jackie from Sparrow and Spruce. She did my website, theanxietyhealer.com. Go and check it out. She has been helping us with our graphics for the podcast as well, but we're in like this beginning phase of that, and she just came up with that, and she sent us like a couple different versions, and I was like, all of them look amazing. But yeah, I am so pumped, and I think that people being able to see our faces and see a lot of my hands, which probably going to annoy you, and I'm sorry if you're watching this, but I am who I am. So okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk just like briefly about how you and I got together, because you're in Texas and I'm in Philly, and we still haven't physically met each other, and I feel like you're one of my best friends. I feel like you know like so much about me. And we talk so much, so deep together in these episodes that
Yeah.
we've done already, and I can't believe we still haven't actually physically met each other. We're working on it, but it's
It's so
hard.
funny you say that, because I was talking to someone the other day about our podcast and they were like, wait, y'all have never met each other? And I'm like, no, but but we literally know every detail of each other's lives because we've shared it all on this podcast. You guys are welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, you've cried like hard tears on this podcast. Like, we have
Yeah.
given you guys nothing is censored. And that's the other thing about like this, what we do, it's very raw and real, and we want to make it conversation like, not scientific and where we lose you within 10 minutes. I was actually listening to the Huberman podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard that. And oh my gosh,
Sure have.
I was like 20 minutes into an episode. I'm like, what just happened? Like it's great for people who want to like dig super deep, but I'm like, if I'm listening to a podcast, I want to like escape. I want it to be easy, and I want it to be light on the ears. And I feel like that's what we give people. And I would say the beginning of you and I remember like back in the day. Well, how many years ago was this now? This was right before COVID, but we knew each
2020.
other, but we knew each other before that. When did we like first connect? It was like
Yes.
2019.
Yes, yes, because I mean, we had before collaborations were even a thing, we were
Yeah.
DMing
Yeah.
and just like saying, "Oh my gosh, this is so great you're talking about this." And because it was only me, you, and like five
Yes.
other people in mental
Yes.
health, like talking about it. And so I was just like, "Oh my gosh, we need to kind of," and I've always been about collaborating. I've always wanted to reach out and have community. Like that's a huge thing about my page is having people feel less alone and people having community with each other. I'm like not someone who's in competition with anybody. I feel like the more healers, the better. Like I don't care. I'm not in this to just be like let's make million. Like I don't care about that. I want to collaborate with other healers. I want to get the message out and help people feel less alone. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, she's someone else who is talking openly about her own struggles and
Yeah.
talking about anxiety and I really really want to like get to know her. I was like I really want to get to know you.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about influencing then, or
Hmm.
monetizing things. I probably didn't even have that many followers.
I think
And
we had said something like, "Oh man, it would be so cool if one day we start a podcast." Like I remember saying that. I remember we
yeah,
said that like when we started talking after a while, we were like, "Oh, we should like start a podcast." And then we like didn't nothing like happened for a while, right? And then what was it like literally right before COVID?
I mean, I just remember it was no, it was right. I think it was in the summer of COVID, like right after March of COVID. I'm pretty sure.
Let
I
me
don't
do
know.
while
Go
you
look.
talk, I'm going to see our first episode.
Okay, okay, yeah. Because I just remember it is definitely 2020.
Yeah.
But no, and we had DM'd back and forth, and I think voice notes were just coming up then, and we sent each other a couple voice notes, and I just remember thinking, you know what? This girl's awesome, and I feel like she has a similar, um, just
You're right.
what
July
of
21,
2020.
2020.
Yeah,
So we were in like, what was that? Okay, so March, April. And I think like right when COVID happened is when we got like, okay, we're locked in our houses. Like, let's do this.
yeah, yeah, 100%. That's when we started
Because it
talking
took a
about it.
while
Well,
to
yeah,
like
because
get, yeah.
I mean, listen, so many people have podcasts now. Like you can start a podcast in like 20 minutes, which is awesome. And I love it. So many people have access to different things. But back
Hmm.
then, it doesn't seem that long ago, but it was like 4 years ago. And there weren't really many platforms for podcasting. And so it was actually difficult to learn the technical part of podcasting.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of trials and tribulations, let me tell you.
What did we
Um,
start on? Did we start on Zencaster?
okay, I don't know. I just Anchor.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But
So I don't remember, but okay. So moving on, I just remember thinking, okay, this girl totally I can relate to. I feel like she relates to me. I've struggled with health anxiety. Your handle was health_anxiety, but then you started talking about panic disorder. And as you know, a cognitive behavioral therapist, and I'm a clinician, but I also struggle with anxiety. We just related to each other on so much stuff. And
yeah,
I feel like because I'm like 44 and you're 27, right?
29.
29. Oh
I want to be
gosh, you're
27.
old. You're old. Yeah. You're older, getting older. You're so young, by the way, but you're getting older.
Yeah, I was 25 when I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I think having the differences in ages can help kind of different generations and different people
Hmm.
kind of relate to this piece of anxiety and mental health and just talking about it in a conversational way. And we both always wanted that. I never wanted it to be this like scientific, like what you just said, scientific, cookie cutter. We have to be so professional. I'm a professional person, of course, but at the same time, I'm human. I am a human
Yeah.
person We've made plenty of mistakes on this podcast. We've, things that we wish change, things that have caused me so much anxiety about my own insecurities, which is a huge part I've talked about over and over on this podcast. But I think meeting you and really just having someone that I could relate to was so helpful in this whole experience. And I knew I wanted to do this together. And I don't know. And when you were talking about the episodes of me, being a blubbering, I've been crying a million times on this podcast. I actually wrote that as one of my favorite episodes because we're going to go through some of our favorite episodes today. And I actually loved it was episode 80. And I call it the breakup grief episode. So I've gone through 2 breakups through this podcast. And if you do want to listen to the first one, you can do that too. I'll go find out which episode that was, but I can hardly even listen to it back to it. I just feel like so embarrassed. But the my second breakup, episode 80, that was literally a month before my dad died. And then we did that episode probably about a month and a half later after I'd gotten broken up with or we broke up mutually. And then my dad died, and that episode I have listened to just therapeutically because I think hearing my story and how far I've come from that was in 2022, it makes me feel just like see the progress and recognize like I can really get through really, really difficult times. So I have listened to that one. And I suggest you guys do too, especially if you're struggling with any type of grief or whether it has to do with death or a breakup. And I feel like I like blacked out during that episode. I was just like,
I've
I
blacked
don't
out
even
during
know.
a couple, yeah.
I was like, I don't even know. Um, I don't know. So anyway, so that's one of my favorite episodes. Do we want to get into kind of that
Our
part of
favorite
it?
episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, first let me say I feel like also you and I broke the blueprint of what our professions are supposed to do. And I remember being in my internships and my masters, and they almost like didn't want you ever sharing your story with people. They wanted you, it's like a huge thing in like these professions we're in because we're board certified
Yeah.
professionals, right? And a lot of I remember being at this like eating disorder clinic, and there was therapists you work with as and the dietitians work with the therapists. And I remember this huge thing on, ooh, you never want to like share stuff with clients. And
100%.
I feel like you and
Mm-hmm.
I kind of broke the blueprint, and like sometimes people just want to freaking talk to humans and listen to human experience. Put your profession aside. We are humans first. I am a
Yeah.
human being before I am a registered dietitian. And my human experiences have honestly made me so connected to the people who follow us on Instagram. What I've gone through, what you have gone through, that's
Yeah.
what people want to hear. They don't want to
Yeah.
hear, like all this science talk. It's just like, and I think that's what you and I connected on so much. And I'm so thankful for that, that we both like, there are some therapists who would absolutely never, ever, ever share the stuff you've shared. But I
They would.
think that, I'm
Do you know
sorry.
how many people in my field do not like me? They don't know
Yeah.
me. They know me from what I do, but do not like the way that I
Yes.
handle things. And that is fine. That's fine.
That's fine. That's
Even though
fine.
I'm in a profession that's supposed to be completely non-judgmental, I get a lot of judgment from my colleagues. So
Yeah.
interesting. Um, but my whole point of creating this page and creating my brand and actually being a therapist before even social media was because I really genuinely want to help people be the best version of themselves. And I want to try and be sort of a guide because it's me. I'm not going to be this thing that you go to and then you're cured. Like, and that's not how healthcare works anyway, right? Especially
Hmm.
with mental health. But but yeah, being taught in my master's program too that you do not disclose personal things about
Hmm.
yourself. You don't, this is going to be very bad for your clients if you do this. And of course, there's a time and a place. I'm not there's nothing that I do in session where I start telling them a story about my
Yeah.
life and about my day that
Yeah.
takes away from the time. But if there's something that I think will benefit them and their treatment that has to do with my life, I will 100% share that, but it will never make it that about me.
Right.
Um, but if my clients do feel like they want to know more about me, I'm like, go ahead. I have nothing to hide. You can learn about my life. Just go to the anxiety healer. I share all about my life. And honestly, that helps people trust me.
Yeah. It shows you're just like them. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of therapists. And I kind of talked about this in the beginning of our, when we started this podcast too. My experience with therapists and professionals is kind of what made me who I am, because I remember going to I mean, I felt like I was insane. And I remember going, my mom scheduled this therapist appointment for me, and she was just horrible. Like, I felt judged. I felt alone. I felt like so lost. And I remember, you might remember this too, that I went to that emergency room once, and it was that one freaking nurse, that male nurse, who said, "Hey mom, could you maybe leave the room?" And my mom left the room, and he looked at me and he said, "I understand you, and I've been you, and that's why I am who I am now. That's why I'm here. That's why I have this job." And it's like, how amazing, like that. And he made me feel so less alone. And that's kind of what I needed. I
So
just needed
amazing.
someone to just like look at me and say, "You're not crazy. I've been there." Like, and so I don't know. Like you said, I think sometimes people want to box you in, and that's what's cool about where we live and how we're able to just do this and create what we want to create. And the people who want to hear it and relate to it and can probably agree that someone one day just saying, "I've been there, I feel that," is
Yeah.
why they're drawn to us. So I love what we do. And I'm glad that people are
Yeah.
able to like almost like sit with us and see us talk. And I personally
I
love video
know.
podcasts. So
That's why, because I feel like connecting, especially with COVID and how, you know, our world is so, I don't even know what the word is, but through a screen, whatever that
mhm,
word is, where you work through a screen now, you work on a computer, you talk to people through a
yeah,
screen, literally the communication, there's no, when you think of like the human experience, being face to face, it just doesn't happen like that
it's
much
less.
anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
less. I mean, even now, I don't have an office anymore,
hmm
a private practice office. I mean, here and there, I'm like looking around to get in person again. Um, but it's bringing back the human experience, even if it is through a screen. People can see us. It's not just hearing us, and so at least that's breaking another barrier, with our podcast. And
Yeah.
I hope that people can kind of see that and really feel closer to us through now our videos. We are going to be going live weekly to you guys, Taylor and I. We're trying to figure out the kinks of, the time and exactly, because we wanted to do it at the same time of this video podcast when we record, but we're just figuring a couple things out. So we're going to see, but we are going to be going live together weekly now. So you can kind of get more of that experience. We're going to talk a lot about our episode for the week and what's coming up for the episode. We're going to reflect on some of the things we learned from other episodes. So follow the anxiety healer and health underscore anxiety. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's just, and now it's been a couple years and we've gotten so many guests that have been amazing on the episode. I mean, we've had Therapy Jeff on the episode. He's huge on the TikTok, Instagram platform. If you haven't heard of him, I don't know what you're doing, right? But he is amazing. And he's a clinician that I so admire, that totally shares a lot about himself and who he is. He's very self-aware of his own limitations, but he also is just genuinely wants to be a helper. He just wants to help other people feel less alone. And I love him so much. And we've had Kimberly Quinlan. She is Your Anxiety Toolkit on Instagram, or I think TikTok too, not sure. She's been amazing. She's an OCD specialist. She talks so much about exposure therapy. We've had her on a couple times. Who else have we had?
We've had on
Um,
some doctors.
Taylor Klump is amazing. She talked a lot about EMDR.
Hmm.
She's on Instagram as Taylor Clump. She's awesome too. We talked about oh, Anxiety Josh. He is amazing too. If you know him through Instagram, he talks a lot about the brain and how it's wired and what you can do to be less avoidant with anxiety and how you kind of like face it and confront it and how you can feel safe while doing that. He's amazing. I mean, just so much. You've had your brother on. Remember, that was such a good episode.
Oh,
People loved
yeah.
that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And you talked about how your brother struggled and he was
Yeah.
on. So I don't know. I just like I love that we've had so many people that I feel like are aligned to us
Hmm.
with when it comes to mental health and it comes to the healthcare field because there are too many people, there's too many practitioners now that see people as numbers and
Hmm.
not as humans. And that is literally what we're trying to break.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. So basically, summing it up, the changes that we will see is we will be doing video. We're going to do lives. And then we had a couple others if you want to read those out.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna go live. We're figuring out the kinks, like I said before. We got new cover art. We our Instagram page is gonna it already looks amazing, but we're going to be doing clips. We're going to get reels of, our podcast and put together just different highlights from each show that I think are going to be really helpful in learning more
Yeah.
about what the episode's about. And we have, our videos. So we're going to be on YouTube. So we're working on kind of uploading all of these episodes now onto YouTube, and you're going to see our faces. And we're also bringing back something we started in 2020 and it kind of fell off the wayside, which I feel like made me so sad. And I don't know. I think there was just a lot of stuff going on and we kind of just like didn't structure it how we wanted to. But we're bringing back the healing tip of the day and we're bringing back the quote of the day.
Let's go.
So if you are just new to this and new to the podcast, new to the chicks, I, for a couple months in 2020, was doing a healing tip of the day. And every week I would, help you figure out maybe something that could be good for the week to make a goal or to just for your mental health, just that could help. I'm going to bring that back. Taylor has a lot of quotes up her sleeve. Up your sleeve.
I love quotes. I mean,
Um,
I feel like quotes just like so Allison's leaving you with something for the week, and I'm leaving you with just like a little heart change for the day.
yeah.
Or anytime you listen to it. Like I feel like sometimes a quote just like it really deepens your thoughts and your heart and it just can kind of structure you for that day when you listen to it. So we got you for the week and we got you for the day.
Yes. And also something new that's changed is my Nook. So
I love your Nook.
if you're listening to this, you can't see my Nook behind me, but I'm going to be adding a couple more things. But I love my Nook because I added my second book right here,
You did.
The Anxiety Healer's Guide for Clinicians. So for anyone who's listening who's in like the healthcare field, just DM me and I can get you a copy of this. I can send you a link. I'll put it in the show notes too, but I love the Anxiety Healer's Guide too, but this is like, I'm so excited and proud of this. And a lot of people have been asking me if they're not, a therapist or they're not a social worker, can they use this? 1000%. There's so
Mhm.
many amazing worksheets in here. And you might see words that say, like, okay, ask your client this or have your client uh, copy this page for your client and have them fill it out. So the language has a lot to do with, me talking to other therapists, but the actual content of it, I mean, I've this is what I would do for myself if I was, trying to work through catastrophizing. There's some case studies. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm putting this on the video. I'm not going to bore the people listening to audio anymore.
And my background is always my green grass wall with my sign that says perfection is an illusion.
Yeah, perfection is an illusion. I actually love that. That's like a
Mhm.
quote of the day, honestly.
I'm all about deep quotes.
Okay. And then we have other guests coming up too, but we're not going to share them quite yet. It'll be exciting news. Um, Also, for you, all of you watching on YouTube, I want to apologize because I am constantly drinking water. So you will always see me with my water bottle. And Taylor,
Should we introduce our
look
water
at my
bottles? Oh, yours is pickleball. Guys,
I did.
pickleball
Do
is
you love that?
life-changing. Look, happy people play pickleball. Look at my hat. The pickler.
I
That's where I
know, and
play.
I was
If
gonna say
anyone.
that because your hat is a pickleball hat, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
but I haven't played in so long because I haven't
You
like
need to
in
go
like a couple
back.
months. I know. Anyway,
It's so good for you. And then this is
so
mine. You'll
let me
see
see.
this guy. Look.
I love it. That's
Everybody takes it.
huge. That's
Oh, we have the
actually like
same. Oh yeah, I do two of these, so it's 64 ounces. So I do two a day.
okay. Wow, I thought I was crazy, but
Well, I play a lot of pickleball, so I drench. I get drenched.
no, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. That's so good. Okay, so let's go to some of our favorite episodes.
let's do it.
So I already talked about my one that I loved with grief and death and what it was a very personal episode to me. And I think it was very therapeutic for me. So that's my first one.
Okay,
Now,
my first one is gotta go with the health anxiety, the true story. This is where I share it all. Episode 6. I go in depth about basically everything I went through. It is very personal. And, at first I remember like recording it and being like, oh, that's so embarrassing. Like, even like when I started my Instagram, I was just like, oh my gosh, like everything's out there. And then the feedback we get on those episodes of people being like, I literally felt insane until I listened to that. And now I feel so less alone. And I'm like, that's all I needed to hear.
totally. Yes, I love that episode too. And I think that a lot of I can't believe that we're still getting so many
hmm
DMs and so many emails about that episode 4 years later. Because I think your story is so relatable. And so much of also what you went through with your panic attacks. I mean,
Yeah.
and how you were treated and stuff. I think it's just so important. So go listen to that one. I love that one. Okay. My one next one that I love too, that is so many people still to this day also. Now we did just put it up as a replay episode a couple weeks ago too because it was so popular and we just wanted to, so it was is the fear of death keeping you from living? That is episode well, so the replay is 174. I'm not sure what the very first episode was of that, but episode 174 is all about death anxiety. And talking about death anxiety, what it means. We put a trigger warning there because I think
Yeah.
it's a very sensitive subject, mostly because our country and culturally, death has been quote unquote so scary to talk about. And when in fact, the reason why it's scary is because we don't talk about it. So we really just shed light on that subject and the anxiety around death. And it kind of fits in with the health anxiety episode because a deep rooted fear for a lot of people with health anxiety is fear of death. So a lot of times can go hand in hand. Um, but I actually just started reading a book. I don't know if you saw my stories I posted last week on vacation. Hospice
Yeah.
nurse Julie sent me one of her book, and it is honestly the way she talks about end of life. She calls
hmm
it end of life a lot of times, and helping people find more control over their end of life instead of other people making decisions for them.
hmm
And she's just noticed as a hospice nurse in hospitals and in assisted living and with the elderly, or not even elderly, but people that have terminal illness, that there's so many other people making decisions for them, and
hmm
sometimes they just want to make decisions about their health, and
hmm
the end all be all isn't just keeping them alive. Sometimes like they're in so much more pain and so much more turmoil just trying to be kept alive. And she just talks about like how hard it is for people that really are at their end of life. And it really fits into our death anxiety episode because it's just she talks about it a lot. So I would encourage you to really go listen to that because it really really is something that needs to be talked about a lot more.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Okay, my other favorite episode. I have two more actually. is Can Probiotics Actually Benefit Your Mental Health? Featuring the co-founder of Just Thrive, Tina Anderson. That's episode 88. That was such a cool episode. I mean, just having the co-founder of Just Thrive and how big the company is, like, and it's such a cool company. Like, their products are truly legit. I use them to this day. And I think that, what, episode 88, that was like 4 years ago, probably 3.5 years. But it's cool that we were able to have like CEOs and co-founders of these like big companies come on. We've had a couple actually. If you just scroll through our episodes, we had Keon on. That was a good one, where they talked about amino acids. And there's just so much. This is more of like, if you want to nerd out, there's just so much on kind of my profession. So we go back and forth. Like, we'll do like therapy episodes, and then we'll get these like doctors or like health people in, and it'll be kind of more so what I do with like how much health and mental health and your overall daily wellness is so connected. And that's what makes Allison and I just the powerhouse team, because we're coming at you with every component of health, right? So
Yes.
that's a great
Yes.
one. I mean, we have, and we hope to have more of those, where I have actually someone, I'll give one sneak peek. And I haven't told you this, Allison, but there is this company, Somavedic. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you like the EMF blocker company.
Okay, no, maybe not. I thought
Oh
it
my
sounded like
gosh,
another company
they
that I
they are the latest research and just like the benefits you can get from sleep and mental health with
Ooh.
blocking EMF radiation. We live in, like, guys, look around at the towers and just like how much like EMF radiation is coming at us at once. I mean, heck, I know personally my cell phone is always next to me. I don't know about you, but it's always freaking next to me. And we just
Yep.
have Bluetooth. Like, even right now, look, Allison and I are wearing Bluetooth headphones. Well, mine are, yours are plugged in. But we just have so much coming at us. And it's going to be a great episode. I just can't. And we're getting the
Yes.
CEO to come on. So that's like amazing.
I'm so excited. Oh, and I am in talks with someone who is going to come on and talk a lot about psychedelics and microdosing.
Hey,
So
it's just
excited.
cool. Like, it just
So
gives
excited.
people what we give in our episodes, and what I've learned about when we have these amazing guests on is options that people aren't told when they just go to the doctor. You're not told that there's like all these things you could try and do, and how much they can help benefit you, and you may find healing in it, and your route to healing might not look like someone else's route to healing. But that's
Right.
what's so cool about our podcast. All right, your next one.
Okay. My next one. Sorry, I just have to grab something really quick. Oh. Excuse me. Um, sorry, I want to make sure. Yeah, okay. I have about 2 minutes left. I made sure I scheduled people for like far after, but Taylor and I had to talk for a long time before this. So I have to sign off in like 5 minutes because I have a client. Um, but okay, my next episode that I love, this is the last one that I really love. I mean, there were so many, honestly, but I will say that episode 157, it's all about how to stop using avoidance as a coping method. So, avoidance is a huge part of the anxiety cycle. And so, part of anxiety starts, and then avoidance happens, and then you do something, to avoid whatever you think you're anxious about. And then there's some short term relief, but then the anxiety continues. You have some
Yeah.
short-term relief when you avoid things, but then it continues. So episode 157 is one of my favorites about how to stop avoidance and how to kind of confront your fears and how to feel how to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I remember you going through all the like acceptance, avoidance. I remember you just going through all that, especially after your breakup. You really did a lot on that. You did a
Yeah.
lot on attachment styles too.
Yes, those are some of my
Yeah.
favorite episodes too about attachment. I mean, attachment
Yeah.
theory, I mean, that's huge, especially if you're going through relationships. So, like, I haven't actually dove into that in a while because I haven't really been dating, but we'll do an update about that maybe in a little bit, a couple weeks, because I'm like dating around. But yeah, attachment theory is amazing too. We have a lot of different episodes about that.
Okay, last one. And I kind of mentioned just with guests, but ophthalmologist answers your anxiety provoking symptom questions with Dr. Ronnie. That was such an amazing episode, because I know we'll get messages a lot where people are like, my vision's weird. I have floaters. I have da 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 with my eyes and it freaks me out. And she just gave so much peace to a lot of people. And she is the professional, so she can do that more than me just saying, hey, I have floaters too. You're not alone. So
Yeah.
it was cool having her on. I really liked that
Yes,
episode.
I love that. No, that was great. I actually just sent a link to that episode to someone in my DMs because they were talking about
Nice.
vision and anxiety.
Yeah.
And then also one of my other clients too, talking about it. A couple of teenagers, they get that a lot too. And
Wow.
they were
Interesting.
scared. Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the healing tip of the day.
Yes.
So excited. Okay, and then we'll get to code today. So my healing tip for today is going to be about self-compassion. Okay. So I want you to think about how compassionate you are with yourself, especially when your anxious thoughts get really loud. So I was talking earlier to my subscribers in the anxiety healing community just about how we have so many people with anxiety and mental health issues and depression have this limiting core belief of I'm not enough. I'm never enough. I'm never going to be enough. And it continuously kind of perpetuates those intrusive thoughts that are very critical that we have about ourselves. So this belief that we're not enough, it's almost like, how are we ever going to learn to just be with who we are and love who we are? Because perfection is an illusion, right? And being able to learn how to be compassionate with ourselves when we make a mistake or when something doesn't go the way that we want it to go, or someone judges us and says something about us. And then we have all these internal critical thoughts too. How can we find compassion in those moments for ourselves, right? Or if we feel ashamed about something or embarrassed about something, is there a way for us to be compassionate with ourselves and help ourselves kind of shift that mindset of critical mindset into loving mindset? And so one thing you can ask yourself, and here's your tip. One thing to ask yourself when you kind of feel or you hear those thoughts being very loud, those critical thoughts are just like screaming at you in a really negative way. What would you say to a person you love or a really good friend of yours in the same situation? You wouldn't
Hmm.
say half the things to that person that you say to yourself. You would probably never even say some of those things to someone who's struggling and who's feeling like that. So I want you to practice asking yourself, what would you say to someone you love or a friend when you feel really critical about yourself?
That, yeah. It's definitely not the same as what you usually tell yourself. Okay. My quote of the day. I love this one. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And that's Martin Luther King Jr.
Of course it is, because he's
Why is
amazing.
it not
He was
Taylor?
I know. No, oh, he was such a voice, and
So
what an
to
amazing
me,
man.
to me, that quote is like, let healing meet you wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to be in a certain place of healing. Just be moving forward in any way you can. And whatever that looks like, even if that's just like getting out of bed in the morning. Because I remember that was a goal for me at one point. And let healing just meet you where you're at.
I love it. Thank you so much, Taylor. And thank you, everyone. We're so excited to be with you. Um, I like love it. I love doing this, but you're going to see a lot of my hands. Tell us in the comments what you found most helpful about this episode and what you found most annoying. Because I can
What if
take
they
it.
say it's our face?
Well, I'll be like, okay, goodbye, because I'm going to be here. Don't watch me. But actually, try not to be too critical. But I welcome constructive feedback. I really welcome it. So
Yes.
let us know in the comments what you think. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Peace.